of the court. What we're really here about today is something actually very simple. The EFF submits that over 10 million rand hidden in the couch is as problematic and controversial for a president as benefiting from unlawful upgrades to his residence in northern KwaZulu-Natal. And so, having regard to this court's judgment in EFF2, the submission is really simple before the court, with all due respect. The first one, and these are the broad overarching submissions we say the court needs to concern itself as we go through the various issues that will be contested between the parties. The first one is this. It's whether or not the reasons offered by the National Assembly when it voted down the independent panel's report withstands legal scrutiny. Now, what has happened in this matter is there have been two bundles of reasons that have been advanced before this court. The first bundle of reasons are those reasons that were given at the time by then Minister of Justice, Minister Lamola, in the House and is recorded in Hansard. That is, can be found at EFF Annexure 6, which runs on to 2 volumes, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll take the court there in due course. And effectively what Minister Lamola's reasons are is that the panel misconstrued the threshold it had to apply. And he, and developed by our learned friends for the ANC in argument, seek to draw this distinction between sufficient information, and prima facie evidence for the purposes of an impeachment motion.
Yes, good people. We didn't know 3 years ago that lawyers are lawyers. Now, yes, it's a very famous councillor there representing the EFF. So welcome again to News for Sure. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to unpack the implications or the result of this IPID report. We want to analyze and show you South Africans that what has come out on the IPID report, it's nothing new. But then also, it comes through to the murky confusions that exist around this whole issue of Phala-Phala. At least we know one thing for sure is that President admitted to a payment that was made. President admitted to a burglary. President admitted that he had actually reported this incident. So now what is then important is that we know that President says, I have asked the institutions to actually investigate me. We've also heard from reliable sources that indeed the president was ready to actually to resign with relating to this matter of Phala-Phala. Now, I need you guys to be reminded that this report, the IPID report, come to an existing report that we already have. What is that report that we already have? We have a report from a public protector, basically. And we also have a report from Reserve Bank as well as SARS. Now, what I want us to do an analysis on is to go back. Let's see, what does this IPID report has? What does it say? And look to the existing information that we have. But then I will not be fair if I don't remind you guys that you need to subscribe. You need to support this channel. We're grateful for what is currently happening at this point in time, where you guys are indeed subscribing. We're just over 4,000. So continue with the love and support on that. I'm going to try now to share this clip. Let's see if we're going to see. Yes. The clip I'm playing you, it's the evidence by Advocate Matlala. Advocate Matlala is representing the accused person. Listen to these questions that he puts through to the investigating officer.
Cross-examination of the lead investigator, the defense lawyer argued that the evidence and information he investigated is not reliable and credible. He told the court that the theft at the Phala-Phala farm was only reported 2 years ago, which makes the evidence inaccurate.
Most of the major important part of the information and investigation or evidence was now distorted.
The investigating officer disputed the defense argument. He told the court that his investigation relied on witness statements, confession statements, records of the accused persons, bank transactions, and their activities before and after the theft in February 2020.
In respect of this accused number one, Your Worship, on this investigation, it was the investigation and the witnesses' statements and evidence that was obtained in totality in respect of the dollars that were stolen, the purchases made with dollars, the cell phone records, the association with other accused, the association with other witnesses. So we didn't necessarily rely on any DNA or fingerprint evidence. It was the totality of a lot of interviews and statements obtained and analysis done.
The defense lawyer, however, argued that there's no evidence that links the accused to the crime.
Without the fingerprints, without the video footage, without the DNA taken, how then do you link accused number one with this matter, both of these matters?
The investigating officer testified that he obtained video footage from a nearby farm on the day of the break-in. However, he couldn't identify the accused persons.
On that video footage of Stokis Barai, could you identify any of the people?
You could not identify distinguishing features. The face was covered with something over their face, a cloth or a scarf, and then the cameras were moved so that the cameras would not be showing the housebreaking. Other footage was too far to make out any distinguishing features, so you couldn't identify anybody.
The defense further questioned if there was proof that there were dollars at the farm. The officer testified that the stolen money allegedly comes from the sale of buffalo at the Parapara farm, which were paid for in US dollars.
Do we have any proof of that there was ever dollars at Palapala, except just a wait?
In respect of the investigation, I have evidence under oath that stated that there was a transaction that had occurred by Buffalo, and the witnesses said that they received dollars, and the witness that paid for the buffalo said he paid in dollars. So that's the evidence I rely on in the docket.
Davis' defense lawyer has concluded cross-examining the investigator. The trial has been adjourned to Tuesday. The court has ordered that the witness identity must not be revealed. And Daniel Paso, ACBC News, Modemol.
So, guys, what is important is that based on what we've heard there, we've heard that clearly the defense there, the state is...
The Senzo Meyiwa murder trial took a dramatic...
The case, it says that the case now of the Palapala case is actually under a lot of scrutiny in court there in Limpopo, where we're hearing that there is a lot of information that is missing. Now, I need you to compare from the information that you just had there, that the case was only open 2 years ago, 2 years later. Now, I'm not sure whether are we talking about different cases there, because if the incident took place in 2020, and then but there in court we heard that the case was open 2 years later. But when you look here at 3.5, this is the information from the IPID report. It says that a Bela case 7803-2020 of investigation. But tell me, then which case was open in 2022? Do you understand? Now, when you look at this is the IPID report. The only thing that the IPID report comes through, it only brings a lot of confusion in this case. What then do we need to do? We need now, I have created some sort of a high-level sample to actually go through to the pointers of what the IPID report says. But before we can go there, I also want us to actually see what previously the public protector said in this regard. Because the public protector, this is still the IPID report, basically. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I'm going to try and share again. So the public protector has also reported, she said, according to her information, it appeared as if there was no case that was open at the time, basically. You see? So now, when we look at this, I just want to take it back. AA says the allegation that members of PPU are sustained, basically, it actually made the findings that there are people that needs to be prosecuted, basically. Therefore, then she narrates. This is what is important, what I want us to actually pay attention to, because I know that she has come under a lot of scrutiny. But let's just listen, because I've got a problem with the IPID report. Let's look at this. This says there is no case docket that was open to enable SARS to actually do these criminal detections. Now, but we also heard that the evidence there in court, it also states that there was no case open. The case was only opened 2 years later. What then are we missing in this case? I'm of the view that IPID report is actually is trying to be to create a confusion, or is trying to cause a particular direction, or is trying to distort what should be the judgment is. But we know that the IPID report as well as the judgment are not related, because this IPID report was classified by the person. So we need to look at the person. Who was the person that actually really classified this report? Because when we look at this report, there's nothing new. All of this information already existed. In fact, the information that was outside IPID, it was actually more damning. But then what we also note that the IPID come through and says they're coming hard under General Rode. I have a problem with that, because when you start to look at that, General Rode gets cleared by the internal hearing, which is SAPS again. If then SAPS, why IPID did not make submissions to the SAPS internal hearing and says, no, you cannot actually clear this person, because this person, this is what we've made a finding on him relating to this incident that took place in Palapal. So that is why, for me, that I don't want us to be distracted by this report. I hope you guys can actually see. I've actually tried to see the summary. IPID report, this background around it. It's a complaint that was laid by ATM. They're saying that there was unlawful undercover investigation, misuse of government funds, and concealing of evidence. That's what they say. Major findings here is that there was cover-up, there was abuse of resources, and there was unlawful acts, which is kidnapping and everything like that. Now, this is what they say about Major General Rode. They says, no, this is what he has done, transgression. He has failed to report to the commissioner, but instead they reported to General Mfazi. But this is what you must know. IPID is becoming very opportunistic here, because we've since heard in the ad hoc committee, there was a gentleman that came there to testify on the ad hoc committee recently. He actually make mention that Lieutenant General Mfazi, amongst other things that he may have been poisoned for, it's because of the Palapala investigation. Now, if you heard that, but nobody from IPID has actually even went and actually testify or even try to protect General Mfazi in relation to this matter. That's one. But then also, who from the government decided that this report was a threat to national security? I'm thinking that this is one of the political gaming by people here that wants to actually settle some political scores because we're being distracted from the real matters here. Is it now? This IPID report has no new information, but I think what remains a problem is what is being unveiled by these commissions that are currently taking place. IPID is in the center of the Madlanga Commission, Inkabinde Inquiry, as well as also we've seen on the Senzomiwa case where police are doing unlawful things, but IPID is taking time to actually do the investigation. But I think now that there is Bas Kruger, who has started releasing information with relating to the behavior of certain police officers. But I think this report, for them to hold it, was very opportunistic for IPID because clearly it had no security implication around this report, basically. But I think now they just wanna make Wali. I don't say that he's innocent, but I think that they just want to distract us because IPID should have actually objected to him being cleared. This is what they also says. They say that there was an authorized surveillance and misrepresentation on these guys, and they say vehicles actually went on to they used the vehicles. They went to the border of South Africa and Namibia, and guys, there's always these things that they say it's a no man's land. It's a nice saying that it's a no man's land, but that land, any of the authorities, whether South Africa or Namibia, can actually take ownership of the space. Basically, it's like what you have in the airport when you're transiting. It's a duty-free zone, basically. So, what is important there is that these are the things that they're talking about, but this is nothing new, basically. Now, this is what they recommend, but this is the same thing that the public protector recommended, basically. Now, then you actually ask yourself in terms of saying, but what is really a an issue here? What was an issue? Why this thing was never released from the start? You see, so hence I'm saying that these elements in this report, I find them that as being very opportunistic, basically. They are an attempt to actually to set a particular narrative, or they're an attempt to try and set what the information that the whistleblowers have actually leaked through Facebook, through Bas Kruger, about the unaliving of General Mfazi. Now they want to say that this is linked to this. I don't know anything about that, but I'm just saying let's look at the bigger things and saying, but wait a minute, let's allow the commissions that are there that they investigate the issues that we have within South Africa, but then also let us also make sure that IPID is actually held accountable, and the person who actually classified the report, because really for the last 3 years that this report has been classified, basically. So they added something that they should have not done, basically, because this is what is also interesting about the IPID report. I have shown you earlier on that there was investigation by Hawks, which then Hawks went into the case that was open in Bela Bela. And then NPA said no, they cannot prosecute in relations to that incident. So I don't know why the case are separated, the case of robbery and the case of theft. Also, if the money then is stolen, there is no proof that at some point a certain money was taken to SAP 13. Everything. So there's a lot of procedures that have not been followed with regards to this matter. But we don't see on the IPID report dealing with other matters now. Let's leave the going to Namibia, the Wally Road stuff. Let's just leave it for the time being. Let's look now at the activities that take place by people now who are tasked to investigate. What has IPID done about it, basically, because now when you look at the PP report and you see that, you know what, there's certain an issue there. If at the time General Wali was not cooperating with the public protector. Also, when we look at the court proceedings, with what we see now, that actually there is not even sufficient evidence to link these accused persons with in relations to the crimes that they have alleged that they have committed. South Africans, indeed, we love our country. And we do these shows not because we want to be famous, but we do these shows because we want to constantly engage each other, keep us informed, because mainstream medias are not going to be, they're not willing to share this information. They are already restricted. They censored the information that they shared with us. It's censored. And then also they're very selective in terms of what they want to share with us. So that is why now we as YouTubers, we do tend to actually do a deeper analysis in these matters so that we can try to help you to understand and give you the background on getting to the truth. So I know a lot of people are excited about this IPID and Phala report, but let me tell you, this is nothing new. IPID is silent about the Hawks investigation that took about 241 statements? They're silent about it. Now, we also know that even on Senzo Mewa case, there are a lot of allegations of police wrongdoing, but IPID, I know for a fact that Patricia Mashele has actually reported the matter. There's like at least, 3 matters that have been reported to IPID in relations to Senzo Mewa case. Now, let's look. When you see now IPID, they want to link the Phala and the death of General Mfazi. And in the release information that talks about General Mfazi, we know that his pocketbook is in the hand of Brigadier Kininda. I believe he's the one that is investigating that case. Now, IPID as well has a lot of cases, therefore told us about a lot of cases that have been opened against Brigadier Kininda. That's one. We also are aware that it was confirmed that Brigadier Kininda was also attending another case in Randburg of something of theft of 50,000 or something, right, or extortion, basically on that. And then we also know that Patricia Mashele also opened another complaint with relating to the behavior of Brigadier Kininda in the Senzo Mewa case. We know that Sfiso Mayiwa also opened a complaint. We also know that Baba Zungu also opened a complaint within the Newcastle. I was party to that. But then IPID is silent about those things. That is why I'm saying that IPID silence and IPID's behavior in this regard, it's the one that is causing this unnecessary noise that we don't need in our country at this point in time. South Africa, I'm not saying let's ignore this. Everybody that have done things wrong in the Phala, they needs to be held accountable. The law must take its course, but then we must not be dictated by this IPID to actually to tell us who should do. Now the report is released and the information that they've put in there. Now that we've seen the report, there is nothing in the report that is new. There is nothing in the report that is actually threat to the security. In fact, this release of this report, people must actually now go and arrest a person, open a case against the person who classified the report, because that will have been the abuse of power. And then also you must remember that apparently this report was presented to other MP members with a joint standing committee of intelligence in this report. Those parliamentarians, again, they need to be held liable in this regard, because we now know there was nothing that of sensitive nature in this regard. But then it helped to create a narrative as if the current president is being protected. It's the same thing that has happened in in the former president appears that because the MPs are not able to exercise their duties, then now those appears that they voted along the parliamentary lines. So let us not allow this IPID report to distort us, to confuse us. Let us remain focused on the Madlanga Commission, the government inquiries, and IPID must clean its house. In fact, we need another commission. Not no, we don't need another commission. But I think we need to scrutinize people that have actually classified this report. Good people, I thank you. I'll see you on the next recording. Bye bye.